Everybody, this is the progress report for this Wednesday, February 9th, 2022, and we're on to our 12th year?
We're in year 13. We finished 12 years.
13.
We can never remember this.
Senior moments.
We sit out in the other room and
Senior
we never remember.
moments. I mean, that's just what it is.
But when they did, they're all blurring together. They're all blurring together.
Well,
it's we've had a lot of fun. We've done a lot of fun things.
We've had some merry adventures along the way.
We have offered to the public, hopefully, some entertaining information, and we're going to do that again today.
Indeed we are. Indeed we are. We do have coming up, not too far off, just over a month away, a special election in the city of Manchester to seat somebody as the alderman to replace the late Barbara Shaw in Ward 9 down in the southern part of our city. And I guess you just saw one of the candidates aspiring to that position. We're, by pure coincidence, going to offer you the other. The one that we want to feature is Jim Burkush. Has had a distinguished career in the fire department, including being chief in Manchester, chief in Hooksett, and comes from a distinguished family that's provided service to the city from his father and his uncle, Peter Burkush. Uncle, right? Was it uncle? And I guess this is maybe his turn to shine. And burnish the.
What do you mean, maybe?
Burkush.
Definitely is.
Burkush family.
Bob, before we get started, I want to say, folks, if you're watching, right here, what we're going to display is what legitimate political discourse is supposed to look like. Okay, just that's all I'm going to say on that.
Yeah. By the way, you before I turn it over to Jim to introduce himself more than I have, you had a couple of things you wanted to talk about, right?
I just did the one thing I wanted to do, but if you want, we can take just a moment, folks. The St. Patrick's Day Parade is on this year, March 27th. It's kicking off at noon, so mark your calendars.
And that's the real sign of spring in Manchester.
I'm so excited.
That parade.
We've missed it for 2 years. I'm so excited.
We'll
we'll have more on that on the show later on, but we have more
will.
important things. We have a great candidate that we need to introduce. And folks, don't forget you can call in. What's the number? 640-3091. This is a great opportunity. Yeah. We have someone running for office. If you're from Ward 9 or know people from Ward 9, call in. You can ask them questions one-on-one right here. Put them on the spot.
Anywhere in Manchester, or even in our, Auburn Hooksett, we have a great person here who's willing to continue offering public service. So, Jim, you're on.
Good evening, folks. Good evening, Manchester. Thank you for having me on the show. I've watched you guys for many years. It's very informative.
Oh, you poor guy. We appreciate it.
As stated, I did work a long time, 39 years, for the City of Manchester Fire Department, providing fire and EMS services. I retired as chief, and then I worked in Hooksett. I took a contract in Hooksett for 5 years as their fire chief, and I retired last year. I did run in 2017 against Barbara Shaw. Came real close, within 23 votes, but decided not to run against her for the following 2 elections. Unfortunately, she passed, and just before Christmas, as we know. And I hope to be able to continue the hard work that she's done for the ward. The special election, is March 15th. We've been out. I've been out walking the ward every day, and it's been extremely challenging with icy streets and driveways.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
But the campaign is going very, very well.
Good.
Jim, before we get into the campaign and politics, I want to dig a little bit more. I'm not trying to pry into your personal life, but tell us a little bit about your family. You got
yes,
kids. What's your non-professional involvement?
Well, I grew up on Randall Street, and I still live on Randall Street. I've been on Randall Street for 63 years in the South End. I attended Southside and graduated from Memorial. I'm married for 40 years to Ann. We have 2 beautiful children. Now we have 2 grandchildren and another one coming within a week or so.
Wow.
So when somebody asks me what I do now, I say I'm a grandfather. And it truly is. My daughter lives across the street in Ward 9, obviously. And my son he's also a city resident, a city firefighter. He lives off of Bardwell Road. He's another city taxpayer, and
Ward 8 guy.
He's a Ward 8 guy. So, like I said, that I have been in Ward 9 all of my life, and I understand really the issues and the problems of the ward.
Yeah. So once we lost Barbara Shaw, unfortunately, to the disease that took her after many, many years of service. Had a lot of disagreements with her, but I had to admire her. She was very attentive to what her constituents wanted, and I'm imagining that, we want to ask you obviously why you're running this time, but I imagine that your desire to provide the same level of constituent, or better, is part of it, right?
Yeah, Barbara was really excelled in constituent service. If you called her, she got back to you, and she worked very hard to resolve the problem or the issue, whatever that is. I am retired, as we know, which gives me that advantage to provide excellent constituent service. I have, I put out there an email address. I've put out my cell phone, and I've already begun to receive calls from people already saying, "Can you help us out with this or that?" They called me about sidewalks in front of Bakersville, sewerage issue. So it's been nonstop calls for help because Barbara is not available.
And I think that's one of the most satisfying things you can do as a public official, an elected official, is to provide help to people that are calling and that need help. I think that's something that's really satisfying. Was it hard to decide to run this time, or was it just something you thought was really easy to do?
No, it's something that, like I said, I had run in 2017. I've always had, serving the public. Obviously, I've done it for 44 years, and I look at it as just a continuation of what I've done, helping people resolve their problems if I can, because when they call you, they have a time of need or they have something that they needed to get done.
Yep.
Today, I was out walking the ward, and I met an elderly lady who was talking about the reevaluation, and she was very upset about the reevaluation of her property. And I tried to explain to her that, it was citywide and that, reevaluation is what it is. But I asked her, I said, "Do you have an elderly exemption?" And she says, I don't know what you're talking about. So I gave her the information. I immediately gave her the information of to the assessor's office, and I gave her a telephone number, and I said, "Look, if you need help with this, contact me." I said, I'm pretty certain you would qualify for an exemption. She knew nothing about it.
Really?
So these are the things
Wow.
that,
So she was within the income level where she would probably qualify for this?
Until she does all that paperwork personally,
Yeah.
she told me she was living on a fixed income on Social Security.
And she might well.
Yeah. So I felt, again, these little things that you do for people are really, like you had said, very, very rewarding.
Yeah, they are indeed. Yeah.
Not to mention how rewarding they can be to the constituent who
right.
has the problem that's now solved.
So I feel that my experience in being as a long-term employee is I know all the people who you need to call. That's where that's one of my strengths, is to be able to, I know the housing department. I know, Public Works. I have all those numbers in my phone. You can immediately pick up and try and resolve these issues for people. So, I was.
You don't have to learn as you go. I mean, you've got the background and the familiarity with all the moving pieces.
And then, with many years of budgeting, as I was 8 years in the city as the chief, working on developing and administering our budget for the fire department, which is citywide. It's the same as any city budget. And then I transitioned into Hooksett and managing those budgets within, staying within budget. I feel that, again, I'm ready to, day one, go to work and not have to worry about budgeting or CIP problems.
Learning what's on this page.
Or learning what the process is, because it's all about the process. So I was down last week, the other day walking, and a gentleman was telling me he was having issues with a permit in the building department. So I'm going to follow up with him. And this is just as a candidate. You're walking around,
right,
and you're experiencing these issues, and then you really get, when you walk through the ward, is you get an idea of, tell me what's on your mind, and then in Ward 9 certainly is a very diverse community. We have Elmwood Gardens housing project with their needs. We have a large number of elderly, single family, they're still in their homes, elderly people. We have elderly housing. We have Manchester Housing Authority. So Ward 9 certainly has a diverse group of residents that all have what they need, what they want, and what they need. So they need somebody that can go reach out to them, that doesn't have an agenda you need somebody that can be able to work with all the parties, all the constituents, and all the city stakeholders to resolve an issue, whether it be, you're talking about the homeless issue, whether you're talking about getting a street plowed or a sidewalk plowed, whatever the issue is, you need somebody there who's willing to work to resolve the issue and not go in and try and have an agenda to disrupt or, impede government. Because government is here, as I know for many years, government is here to serve our citizens, provide safety, and provide the services that they need to do.
Yeah. So what do you think, Jim, are the major issues of concern to the people in Ward 9, and maybe in Manchester at large, that you're hearing about and you want to do something about?
Well, again, the reevaluation hit a lot of the people, and it's they're not really understanding.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Because it came up, we talked about it
We've
a little bit on the
talked about
shows when it came up, but
It hit me quite a bit.
well, it's a revaluation, but the state sets the uniform tax rate. So you can't apply last year's tax rate to this year's revaluation and
Right.
say, oh, my taxes are going to go up thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
You have to wait till you see what the equalization rate is, and when the state sets the tax rate. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about
Well,
that? Because
what-
I still hear people saying, oh, it's going to increase my taxes by so much.
It did have a net effect on, I think they say that a third, and a third. A third of the people went down, a third went up, a third remained the same. But
Understood.
particularly in our ward, what we saw was a decrease in commercial value
That's it.
of
That's
structure.
where it went down.
And they shifted the burden onto the residents, the single or the residential.
And that's
group of people.
and that's because the commercial values didn't go up as much as residential.
And even in my case, my house went up $500 or $600, and this lady was saying she went up $400 or $500, and she's on a fixed income, and she's very, very concerned about
She
it.
probably has a hard time understanding this.
And that's what I was trying to explain to her, that and she didn't think it was right. In her words, and I'm glad I had at least an opportunity to say, do you have an elderly exemption? Because a lot of people don't know about
Yeah.
the exemptions that are available out
And that's
there.
not the only one. Is there a veterans exemption?
I believe there's a veterans exemption
Yeah.
also.
Again, but that's also income tied as well.
What is the income limit in which you're entitled to it?
You know what? I'm not sure.
I think
of
it's
that.
around
Well, we told them we weren't going to
55,000.
throw hardball questions, boy. That has a number value to it, Bob. That's a.
I mean, when the newspaper pointed out elderly exemption, I said, well, I certainly got elderly. I got that knocked. I went down there and they said, well,
They ask you what your assets are.
Yeah.
and
and what your income level
Right.
is. And it's not for every elderly person, because plenty of elderly people have lots of means to pay these increased taxes, although they may not be happy doing it.
So
But,
that is certainly an issue. They want quality services.
I think people do want services.
I was walking through the ward, and I'm looking at it, and I go, every house that I've gone to has a garbage can and a recycling cart, but not, not everybody calls the police department. They don't need the police. Not everybody calls the fire department in times, because oh, God bless you, don't have a fire or an ambulance
thank
call or
goodness.
something. But when you walk through the neighborhoods, everybody's interacted by trash pickup, roads being cleaned and plowed, sidewalks,
Potholes.
So, and I'm also a commissioner in the Department of Public Works, and that has given me really good insight to the amount of work that Public Works Department employees do go out there and do. They have a saying that Public Works gets the job done. They really do, and they don't get enough credit for what they do. So constituents want quality service. They don't complain to me about the taxes aren't outrageous, but they want quality service. And they call 911. They want a cop. They want a firefighter. They want quality EMS, and they want their services that they require.
Well, I think it makes it a lot easier to understand when the taxes do have to go up, if at least you're getting something in return for it.
Yeah.
When taxes go up and the roads are worse and you can't, the
Yeah.
fire response times are longer and the cops don't come, that's when you have a problem. Manchester's been very fortunate to have been able to maintain in real tough times
Yeah.
the level of service that's been provided. But I want to ask, what are the challenges that are ahead for us?
We obviously there is 13 city contracts that are coming up this year that are all in process of being negotiated. That's certainly a challenge for the board. Hopefully, state revenues continue, and I think we need to ensure that state revenues and we come down, and we're not experiencing any more downshifting, retirement costs. That needs to be dealt with, because it seems like the city is continually dealing with downshifted costs.
If you want to deal with that, you better run for state rep.
Yeah. No, that I had that job. That was an extremely difficult job. But those are they talk about homelessness and the homeless camp that's down behind Walmart. We call it the Cracker Barrel setup. And the city, is making. I think the city is making some progress in that area. Homelessness. We read in the history of Manchester that we had hermits living at Crystal Lake and Nuts Pond, and so homelessness just didn't start. And early in my career, we had down where Fisher Cats is, and
Down by the rail yard, the
we
hobo
had the
jungle,
hobo
they
jungle.
called it. Yeah.
And then we had they also lived in the vacant mills, and we had vacant structures, apartment buildings in the city, where we had squatters at the time. So we've been experiencing homeless for many years. In fact, we know Frank Ginter in 2008 did a proposal to eliminate homelessness in 10 years, and they did some work, some good work, but it didn't. Obviously, it hasn't been successful because it has changed so much. Homelessness, as we know, is really three different components of it's substance use problems, mental health problems, and obviously people and the high cost of housing. So these are it's a very complicated problem that when you go door to door and somebody asks you about what are you going to do about the homeless problem, you've got to try and explain to them that there are some good things that are being done in the city now. I had a homeless camp about 400 feet from my house, down on the old railroad tracks. So, the city has taken steps. They've hired a homeless coordinator.
Yep.
And there is a great deal of coordination going now to
Who
resolve
apparently is
these.
really doing a good job at.
Shauna Green.
Yeah, we hope to have her on the show.
Yeah, she's working extremely hard, so to resolve the homeless issue, and I think that it's going to be with us for a while, and it's going to with the increase of property values, it's going to be more difficult when you're selling, when you're on Lowell Street, when you're selling apartment buildings for $1 million. I mean, people are going to raise the rents, and that's going to cause an affordability crisis of housing. So, the mayor has appointed a housing commission, which is looking into, and if you read the members of the committee, it's a pretty impressive committee to look at all these issues. One of the issues, again, that people are concerned about is, the homelessness. And a homeless camp such as we call it the Cracker Barrel, when obviously you can't build a house without sewerage and codes, and so that's unacceptable. That situation down there is unacceptable. And I said that I'm going to work to resolve that situation of the homeless camp down there, whatever it takes to do it. I mean, the gentleman, the fire department sends their squad unit every day out to check on the health of these people. They have certainly, my understanding is they have mental health challenges. We've got to move forward to resolve that situation at the Cracker Barrel. We can't stop it till it's cleaned up, done properly. We can't allow volunteers to go in. It's a biohazard. I went down there myself. It's a mess. It's a mess down there. So we've got to show respect to the dignity of the person, and that's there. We've got the neighborhood people who are
Is this right along the river? You talk about this Cracker Barrel. I'm not familiar with that.
behind Walmart, down on 293.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
You can see it when you go over 293. There's a structure, a little homemade structure down there, and there's one gentleman that lives down there, which has caused quite a problem down in that area. It needs to be cleaned up, and it has to be, we have to do it safely, and we have to take care of the gentleman, because we just can't push him out. We got to do something for him. And find out what his issues are.
You can't just eliminate them. That's right. Hey, it's about time for our break.
Let's take a quick break, and we will be back. Folks, don't forget to call 640-3091.
With 603.
With 603, yeah. Don't get me started. But we'll be right back, folks.
Hey, folks, if you're just joining us, this is the progress report for this, the second Wednesday in February, February 9th. And we are featuring tonight an outstanding guest, Jim Burkush, who is a candidate to replace the late Barbara Shaw as the alderman from Ward 9. And we've been learning about him and learning about a apparently very vigorous, active campaign he's running, even though it's pretty dicey walking on some of the sidewalks around the city at this time of year, and I've had that experience myself. But that's who we have here tonight, and we certainly would hope that somebody out there would like to call in with a question or comment, 603-640-3091. But let's go on.
I got a quick question, Jim. It kind of ties into everything, and we barely touched on it when we were talking about the revaluation, but the economic tax base, the commercial tax base in the city of Manchester. Do you have anything in mind how we can grow that? I mean, I think we get these small projects, but we need to expand that commercial tax base, that contribution.
Well, I think that one of the keys to, I think, the future of Manchester, I would hope, would be the return of rail service. I think that that would help us in Ward 9 to be able to, the train, we could walk up, we could take a simple bus up to the train station, hop and go to a Red Sox game.
Yeah. With a stop at the airport in Ward 8, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that,
even better than that, a Celtics game or a Bruins game, you don't even have to go outdoors.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So that,
Yeah.
I think that would help increase our commercial value. Obviously, there's been a significant investment in our mill yard the past 20 years, and I think that those, I would hope that the owners of those properties would, support rail, because I think that would certainly would help our economic base in the city. We have very limited property that we could develop in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, I guess, support what we have, and support, the Manchester Airport is another gem that, is certainly can help us in our future. We took, my wife and I took Spirit Airlines, and it was amazing. Under 3 hours nonstop to Fort Lauderdale is just amazing.
Oh, lucky you.
And
And that's great, isn't it? I mean, that's so exciting that this is the first new airline to serve the airport in a long time. Now they're about to be acquired by
hoping
Frontier,
that
which
Frontier doesn't
could
mess
be
it up.
could be good or maybe not. Who knows? But I'm delighted to hear that you had that experience.
yeah,
And,
it was really, really good experience.
now, does Ward 9 go all the way down to include the portion of Manchester that is, the airport's split between Manchester and Londonderry?
No, that's Ward 8.
We
airport's
stop at
fully-
The airport is Ward 8? Okay.
This year, after they did a little redistricting, we don't go south of 293 anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Up in Ken Burmer, that's
Yeah.
now in Ward 8, Ken Burmer, Thomas Val.
Yeah.
Those streets are now in Ward
Yeah.
8. I'd like to, we still have the industrial park or the park up in Hackett Hill area.
Yeah.
If there's some commercial development that we could do up
It's been
there.
really hard to develop that because the access is
Well,
so
they're supposed
tricky.
to have done a new exit off of 293.
And that's in the works for the exit, what is it, exit 7?
Yeah, it's in the next
rebuild.
10-year highway plan. They say that they've done their last rebuild of the Amoskeag Circle thing there, and they're going to be moving forward with a major change there in sometime, not too far off. So,
And then, the residents of Ward 9 have certainly experienced commercial growth, and then the downside of the commercial growth is the traffic. Walmart was years ago, but we're still dealing with those issues of traffic. So that,
yeah, I
It's not-
remember
it's
when,
not a- I don't
when
think-
Barbara Shaw was an alderman, she had gates up there.
they don't want to have.
That was not a good solution.
I
but-
wouldn't think that the residents of Ward 9 want too much more commercial development. They like it.
Well, not necessarily in that
Yeah.
particular location, but the city has to develop what it has. We can develop our downtown. I don't know if now is the right time, but we talked a little bit about developing South Elm Street. I
Yeah,
mean, there's a
the-
lot of
the,
potential down there.
The city just, I'm excited, hopefully I'm on the board for that. The city received a $25 million grant, which is like the highest grant any city in the country has gotten for developing of South Elm Street, another exit out of the mill yard. And the plan is to come up, they're gonna be debuting it Tuesday night to the board. The plan is to come up near where the Sunbeam Mall is, cross over to Willow Street, and then go south on Willow Street and redo the Queen City Ave, Silly Road, that mess of an intersection. So that would certainly improve our property values in that neck of the woods.
Really?
$25 million in the city.
This is the first I've heard of this, Jim, so I'm
And
so
the-
glad you're bringing this news to
the,
our viewers.
So included in that would be finishing the rail trail from which we call the South Elm Rail Trail from Queen City Ave south. That project.
It's getting through Sundial Ave, that little.
No, by right Queen City Ave, by where it goes behind Shaw's, all the ways down. It's not done. There's a section from South Beach to Queen City Ave that needs to be done, and then Queen City Ave north to it'll go underneath, and it'll go through the mill yard, and then they've got another grant for a river walk kind of a project. So that Public Works is got the challenges to get those projects on the board.
But the funding is there to make this happen?
Funding is there. Funding
My
is
goodness.
there. It's an 80-20. It's an 80% federal, 20% city match.
Yeah.
On that $25 million project.
Yeah.
Hopefully the board will support that project in South Elm.
So the rail trail that now goes from the Walmart down where you talk about this encampment problem, up behind the Shaws, this would complete it to...
It would complete it down to north, all the ways through Queen City Ave.
Yep.
And then further north, it would go to where the Line Drive area, so you can continue up through Goffstown.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's a very exciting prospect.
yeah, so it's great news for the city. We've seen that when the rail trails come through, it really cleans up the area. People get engaged, and
Yeah,
my wife
yeah.
and I have bikes, and we've been riding the rail trails.
I'm a big rail trail fan. I just love the rail trails. I use particularly the Piscataquag and the Goffstown Rail Trail, which of course connect to each other, and you can go.
Well, you'd be able to go from there all the ways now because they've completed the bridge by the post office. That was a big holdup.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to continue south, go all the ways through. That goes down to Salem, I believe.
I believe it does, and there's a lot of very nice, well-developed rail trails down there in Wyndham and Londonderry.
Yeah,
The
so you
Londonderry,
see-
the Londonderry rail trails are really a very well done one
Yeah,
with
so you
good historic markings and everything.
So you'll have the good things that are going is getting the people out and more
Builds
opportunity, more opportunity for recreation,
Yeah.
and the rail trail system is coming along as fast as we can get the money for
I'm
it.
so pleased to hear you say
I'm going to
that.
shout out to my former alderman, Betsy DeVries. That was her pet project for years, and she really did light the fire that got those going. And I
We have an
never thought-
awesome potential when we get this completed. We have an awesome rail trail system right here in the city.
And they all come together
And
downtown.
They all come together right near the Delta Dental Stadium, the Fisher
Yep.
Cats Park there, and you can go east to all the way to the Rockingham Rail Trail, eventually all the way to Portsmouth if you want to do that in your bicycle or walking if you want to walk that far, and of course on to Goffstown to the Westway, and then the
Connecting this southern one that we're
and
talking
then
about.
the whole what do they call it? The one that's eventually going to go from Massachusetts to Canada, including through Manchester, but Heritage Trail, is that what it's
It's
called?
beautiful. So
It's-
that's a very exciting thing that's going on in the city. Specifically in Ward 9, we are getting a new fire station. We're getting Fire Station 9, which was built in 1963, rebuilt. Finally, they're going to build it on the same spot. And one of the things that I was advocating for, I tried to get that station done, but I couldn't get it done. But
Where is Station 9?
it's on Calif Road, right across from Pine
Okay,
Grove
yep,
Cemetery.
yep.
It's a very neighborhood station. Very the people in the neighborhood love that station. So what I wanted was a community room. In Ward 9, we have no place to have a community meeting. So finally, we're going to have a place where we can have a community meeting with parking and bring the residents in to meet the police, to meet the fire, to meet public health, public works, and all these people to get it done.
Perfect. We have a call.
We have a caller.
Call on line
Welcome our
one. Go ahead,
caller.
caller. You're live on the progress report. Thanks for calling.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Mike. Hi, Chief.
Hi.
This is Gary in Ward 8. How you doing?
Hey, Gary. How you doing, Gary?
Good. Look, I've been watching you guys. And I just wanted to call in maybe just to say for, the rest of the people listening that you guys haven't got to yet maybe, but Jim, you're doing a good job. You're getting out there. You're calm. We won't discuss the other person running. but you understand your way around the city, and by doing the fire chief and the whole fire department and all that. It's glad to see someone step up that kind of knows what's going on here with all that time in. Because I only met you, last week? Don't forget to, when you get done, Como, we're going to be walking from your house Saturday morning again, go out and visit the rest of the neighbors in the ward. I thought I'd throw that in case you hadn't got to it yet.
Thank you.
But thanks for stepping up. One quick, not really a quick question, but I was looking, the ward maps have been redone and they are available on the city website now. So we can see where that split, where city planning redid that section up there by Canberra and everything. So it was a pretty good split, and then just, and having lived in, I've lived in Manchester 45 years, at 12 and 9 and the rest here in 8. So the ward lines have really been put together nice. So I just thought I'd call in and say hi and work hard.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling, Gary.
Thanks for calling. I think you can be assured from what he said he is working hard. I mean, if he's out go knocking on doors, and this time when the sidewalks are not so much fun to be trekking on, that's the very definition of working hard. I had another quick question that I don't know whether you've heard anything about this, but it's something that is of particular interest to me, is making Manchester a community power state. Are you familiar with that idea at all? Okay, well, we have very retrograde energy policy in New Hampshire. We're lagging way behind the rest of New England in advancing renewable energy, and so forth. And one of the alternatives in the default of the state is to make Manchester a community power community, which would mean that the city could become a purchaser of power, and maybe, from whatever we get out of the Dunbarton landfill and the solar up there, from its own generation, and act on behalf of its own accounts, all its municipal accounts, and its citizens to acquire power, and probably save our citizens some money. And there's a lot of interest in this. Other cities are moving ahead. Keene, town of Hanover, are two that I know of that are moving ahead with this. The legislative authorization is there. And I'm hoping that if you get elected, you and I can maybe talk about this and see if we can move this forward, because we are the largest city in the state. We're the largest city in northern New England. I think we should be a leader in this, and I think it could be something could be really a great help for our people. Plus, it can achieve a lot of our other energy goals of reducing carbon emissions
and you said it saves the customer money.
Oh, it can save the customer money.
Kind of a big deal there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, there was very little coverage on the Union Leader about the opening of the solar.
Very little. You're right.
It was not covered.
What a project! I mean, the city got that project done. Like you had said, it's phenomenal.
It was a long time coming, but we got it.
I totally support that. I think we ought to look at our vehicle. One of the things is, as an alderman, I look at our vehicle fleet into changing to electric or non-carbon emission.
Which is coming on like a tidal wave.
So
Manchester Transit's going in that direction.
Is it really?
Yeah.
We ought to have them on to talk about that.
We've had them on to talk about that.
By the way, Jim, my daughter came up to visit me. She lives in Northern Virginia.
I know where you're going here, and I agree.
And they just bought a new Tesla. Nice car, very nice car. And so I got quite an experience of it. There was no place in Manchester to charge their Tesla. Now, I went down to the Volkswagen down at Cork, and because I got a Volkswagen, and that's where I was, and they've got a charger. And I said, well, why couldn't she come here? Their charger doesn't work on Teslas, only works on Volkswagens. And I thought, my God, I've talked about this before, haven't I? What if we all had cars that you could only pump gas into your GM car if it was a GM gas pump,
We've seen that before, as went Betamax, so might go the Volkswagen charging system, you know what I mean? It's going to unify, it's going to come down to a unified
But we are on
system.
the edge of electric cars are going to take over. My son in London has been thinking about getting England, has been thinking about getting a car, and he said, I'm not going to get a gasoline car, nobody's going to want it when I want to trade it in. It's happening that fast. So there's something else to watch for. And we should be looking for help from our state and our federal people on making this transition.
Looking for help from our state.
Yeah.
God, you're an optimist.
I believe that
We have another call. This is wonderful.
Excuse us, we have another call. Thank you for calling, caller. You're live on the Progress Report.
Hey, Bob. Hey, Mike. Hey, Jim. This is Sean Sargent from Wardy.
Hey, Sean, great to
Hey,
talk to you.
Sean, good to hear from you.
Yeah, it's a long time no see. Hey, I'm just calling in to thank Jim for stepping up and running in Ward 9. Good, strong candidate for our city, I think. I had an opportunity to meet him and talk to him a bit when I was running, and he was supporting a Republican candidate at the time, so good bipartisan, middle-of-the-road guy. I think a lot of people can get behind.
Excellent point,
I do have a
Sean.
question for him, though.
Good.
What are your thoughts on the zoning overhaul happening this year, and specifically increasing density in targeted areas to kind of help broaden the tax base and maybe create an environment where citizens can see a reduction in their property tax?
Well, anything to.
Great question, Sean.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
I'm not, Sean, I'm not familiar with the zoning overhaul as you're talking about it, but certainly sounds interesting. And if it benefits the taxpayers, we'll certainly we'll support that. One of the things that I want to make sure that we talk about that I feel is extremely important is quality education. I was talking to the Granite State Organizing Project last night. Really great group of people.
They certainly are.
We talked a little bit about public education, and I believe we ought to support our public education. I've been into MST, and I've done. They brought me in to talk about a career as a firefighter, and so that school is just absolutely phenomenal. I think it's a huge success story, but I think that
Here.
we really need to support our public education and not allow draining of those resources away from them. We've got to. That's the key to our future. And we've got to stay on it.
Yeah, we certainly do. And I'm so glad you brought that up. I mean, you're not running for the Board of School
No.
Committee, but the aldermen have the ultimate say on what their budget's going to be, of course. We know that. So I'm really, really glad you brought that up. Let's see. Let's take another quick break.
It's time for a break. We'll be back in just a few seconds, folks.
Hey, folks, this will be our final segment of this edition of the Progress Report for February 9th. Valentine's Day is coming right up. some of us celebrate. And everybody should remember their Valentine. I think it's a very prudent and worthwhile thing to do.
It's a Monday holiday this year. Valentine's Day is a Monday
It's
holiday.
a Monday
this year.
holiday. But any event, we are very pleased to have with us an outstanding candidate for Alderman coming up in the special election on March 15th, and that is Jim Burkush, who's served with great distinction at the top level of the Manchester Fire Department and then in Hooksett on a special contract. And now he's back and willing to continue to serve the public by becoming the alderman to succeed the late Barbara Shaw. And he's certainly well-versed in the issues affecting the city, in particular Ward 9. And so we're really pleased to have him here. Did you have something you wanted to lead with? I can't remember.
No, we were just, we were talking about what topics. We've talked about the challenges that Manchester faces. We've talked about a few opportunities that are coming up. And then you started talking about some federal money that's coming in as part of this. And I believe that there is an additional federal component coming in to deal with our sewage intercept.
Yeah, they for years, probably people don't even know that the Environmental Protection Division of the Department of Public Works under Fred McNeil has been seeking numerous grants to replace our aging sewer system and to separate our sewer and stormwater from a problem that we've been dealing with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean, that
they're
goes
gonna
back
do-
a long way. I mean, we were under court order at one point
Yeah,
to
So
construct it.
they've been quite successful. They did complete. They pushed sewer out Bardwell Road into that area, which was a private sewer company now, and that project's completed. And now he's moving on to they're going to be drilling a tunnel underground, a 12-foot tunnel for like a mile down from Mammoth Road down to Valley Street area, and tying in all those aging sewer systems and separating them, because what people
So that may greatly contribute into the overflow problem we have when we have high rainfall.
Yeah, we've had in areas of the city when we have these huge rain problems, a lot of the sewer and stormwater systems are together,
They get overwhelmed.
and they get overrun and they come
Yeah.
out of the ground. It's awful.
Yeah.
So they've been again working extremely hard, and they're going to be doing this multi-year project, a huge tunnel to replace some of that system. And
Is the funding for that in place to get all that?
yeah, apparently so. They've been working
Wow.
on getting a huge amount of money
Yeah.
to work on that. So there's so many good things going on. We know we have our challenges with homelessness, and homelessness isn't going to be something that's going to go away overnight. We all
Either
understand.
here or anywhere else in this
No.
country. It's not just like it's only us.
No, even in communities in New Hampshire, you were reading about Keene and
Yeah.
and the struggle going forward is going to be affordable housing. We've got to continue to work towards affordable housing to try and alleviate some of the homelessness. We've got to make sure our veterans are taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
There shouldn't be, in my opinion, there shouldn't be a homeless vet. They should have the resources there
Yep.
to do that. The substance use problem is something we've got to get our hands around. But I'm going to be the candidate that will work. All I can do, I don't have all the answers, but all I can tell you is I'll work hard to try and find a solution. I don't have a lot of the answers, and I'll be honest about it. But we have to continue to work for our people.
It doesn't mean we don't need to get to some answers.
Yes,
Just keep
it's-
working till we
Yeah.
find them, right?
Yep, exactly.
So that was another subject I was going to raise, Jim, but I guess you kind of just touched on it. Everybody agrees one of the big problems we face, not only in Manchester but across New Hampshire, is affordable housing for our workforce.
Yeah.
And, is there, you got any further thoughts you'd like to offer on that you might have an effect on as a member of the board?
Well, we talk about we did talk a little bit about it last night with the Grand State Organizing Project, and I think we need to do is when these projects are developed, we need to get in early into the phase of the project and insist upon affordable housing.
In
Being
the
part of it.
design phase.
In the design phase.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
because, my experience working in fire prevention for many years is these projects take, when they're in the planning phase, that's when you propose you know, your fire control systems, your sprinkler systems, and all these other aspects of buildings. Why not bring it forward rather than a developer getting into the project and getting
Budgets are set, and now
and he's
you
all
want
done.
you
Then you
want
go to the
something
board
else.
and you say, "Oh, I'm not approving this project
Yeah.
because you don't have affordable housing." So that's what I told the Grant State Organizing Project last night. Was I know I've worked with these developers and they are phenomenal people who tell you what, you know, if you tell them what you want, they, you know, a lot of times they're more willing to help you, and work with them. And that's the kind of person that I know these people, and I'm willing to call them, say, hey, this is what we need, you know, and that's where it's going to be at. To go to the board and say, no, I'm not going to approve this project. That's not the time to do it. We have to work prior to that.
Yeah, right. You know, here's a hardy perennial for you, Jim. We've had that for many years now, which I never thought was a great idea, but we've had the tax cap. And right now, it looks like with the Biden administration providing, you know, through its the stimulus that they got approved, which accounts for these grants to Manchester, which you talked about, which was very interesting. But
We have a revenue cap too, though.
we have a revenue cap too. Well,
Can we take that money?
even some of the people who are sponsors of the tax cap, like the guy that's going to succeed us, has voted to override the revenue cap. Did you know that? He actually has. But in any event, what's your attitude toward that as an alderman about the tax cap? I mean, I think it's here to stay.
Well, obviously we have to respect and support it. The numbers we're looking at are what, 3.5% right now for a tax cap.
Now that's because the inflation is pretty high right now.
Yeah,
So
and it's
going
gonna
to
continue.
CPI is going to
And
afford us
like
some
I told you,
latitude there.
like I told you today, that was part of a lot of people got hit already, a lot of money.
Yeah,
So that's what we'd have to do.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always a political question, though, right? That's a political question. You got to come to consensus. You got 12 people on this board.
It's a way to it's a balancing act. How do we get there? How do
Yeah.
we get there? You know, you get the needs to. We've got to keep our needs going, and we've got to keep the taxpayer in mind. That's the number one thing.
So you got just over another month to go before the election. You're obviously working hard. You want to talk a little bit about your campaign? I guess you're getting out there and hoping the footing will be better as you get to the toward the election, and you can knock on more doors without less worry about slipping and falling.
One thing that I've noticed this year that didn't happen in 2017 when I walked it last time was there's a lot of people working from home. So you're getting a
So
lot
you're actually
more.
talking to people instead
Well,
of
that's,
leaving
that's
flyers,
an
yeah.
interesting point. That's
You're
right.
getting a lot of people who are working from home. They're paying a lot of attention to social media. Social media is a really great method of communication now. Whether it's you got to try and separate the fact from fiction, but I mean they're getting a lot of their information on social media.
Yeah.
There's been a big turnover of people in Ward 9. I think Ward 9 is like one of the hottest housing sales in the region. In Ward 9, we've had a huge turnover of people coming in and people going out. So that's one of the things that I've noticed walking. People are very very nice, very receptive. I haven't had any issues.
No,
I'm gonna walk.
no nasty people slamming the door in your face.
Not just they look at you and they know who you are, and hopefully I'm sure I will run into somebody, but I
probably
mean,
will.
you
So the challenge is going to be getting these people who you've talked to, who
To
now know
vote.
you, getting them out on the 15th of March. Who votes on the 15th of March, right? We
exactly.
vote in September and November.
Yeah.
So you got to get those folks
that's the
out.
biggest thing. I
Yeah.
mean, getting them out there is the biggest challenge. I'm walking. I'm going to walk the
Are you
ward.
going to be sending out mailers too?
Yes, we're going to be sending out mailers
Okay.
and sending out letters, absentee people, and
How can folks get in touch with you if someone wants to either ask you a question or volunteer for the campaign or make a donation or
contribution.
something like that? Do you have a website, Facebook page, phone
Yeah, I have
number?
I have a
Put-
J-
look right in that camera right there and,
It's
and,
Jay
and tell
Burkush
those folks how to get out
it's
there.
Jim Burkush for Alderman, Ward 9 is my campaign page. I have a J.A. Burkush at Gmail gmail.com. And my cell phone is 603-714-0283. I'm accessible, reachable, and willing to talk to anybody.
Yeah. And your family totally in support of your candidacy here?
My wife of 40 years has been my side, working every day with me. My son and daughter, and
That is so important.
yeah, the grandchildren are a little bit small, but no, but
That's really wonderful.
Yeah,
I just think Manchester's so fortunate to have people like you. You know, you've dedicated your life to being a public servant and now to seek elective office. And with all the knowledge you have and the understanding and obviously the right values from our point of view to be an outstanding public servant. So thank you so much,
you.
Jim,
Yeah.
for joining us. We really have appreciated your being here. And with that, I think we can close out unless you got any, remaining thoughts.
No, I told you I'm gonna bite my tongue for the entire show. I wanted to be all about Jim.
It's no fun when you bite
he's
your
a
tongue.
great
It's
candidate.
much more fun when you don't.
Well, we'll
Let
be
it
back.
rip.
We'll be back the next couple of weeks, and I'll be a little bit more excitable.
And
But I am excited about the St. Patrick's Parade.
And I was going to
Manchester's
say that's the
great
big news
St.
from
Patrick's
this show.
Parade,
In addition to
March
all that
27th.
Jim had to offer, that the St. Patrick's Day Parade, Manchester's best parade.
We can have Jim march in the
What's
parade
the
as an
date?
alderman.
what's the date of the parade?
Sunday, March 27th, stepping off at noontime.
Excellent.
May the weather be good and
It will be.
what's the Irish saying about the sun on your face or the
Oh,
wind at
the
your
Irish
back?
blessing. May
Yeah.
the road rise up to meet you. May I know it, but we're running out of time, Bob.
Well, we will hope for that. Jim, thanks for joining
you.
us, and we'll be back next week with another edition of the Progress Report. I'll be talking to Mike about what we're going to do then.
See you next
Take
week,
care,
folks.
folks. Bye.